Hey, Texas Values friends, Jonathan Saenz here, president of Texas Values. We're on the floor of the exhibit hall here in San Antonio, Texas, Alamo City. This is the site for the Republican Party of Texas State Convention in 2024. This event happens every 2 years, but it's not always in San Antonio. Sometimes it's in different parts of the state. So we're glad to bring some exclusive videos to you, some people that we work with a lot that are important to the work we do. And somebody who fits that title is our good friend Christian Collins. So he's going to spend a little time visiting with us about some issues, primarily state-based, but we might talk a little politics, a little bit national, because we're in a presidential election year, and these things have become so important. So, Christian, good to see you. Glad you could spend time. You're here spending time with people at the convention. Why has it been important for you to be here?
Well, Jonathan, it's such an honor to get to be with you. Thank you for the work that you and your team do to keep Texas going in the right direction. It's invaluable, and I'm just so thankful for you, and thank God for you. Well, I get to be blessed to get to be here. I'm leading the Texas Youth Summit, and we've done a lot of good work educating young people with Judeo-Christian and conservative values. You're actually going to be at that conference this year and talking about religious freedom, talking about all the work you're doing in the state legislature. We need you. And we're working to bring young people in from across the state, and people come across the country to be a part of the Texas Youth Summit. And we're bringing in the biggest speakers in the movement. We're excited about that, and thank you for letting me plug that. And Texas Youth Summit, we bring in thousands of young people to educate them with the right values. And my story is, when I went off to college, I didn't know why I believed what I believe. And so it's so important that young people have a firm foundation, as the scripture talks about. Jesus alluded to the parable, and he said that your house has to be built on the rock and not on the sand. A firm foundation, knowing why you believe what you believe, and we're working to educate young people with those right values. Andrew Breitbart said, politics streams down from culture. We need to engage the culture. Yeah.
Well, and look, that's one of the reasons why we're here today and throughout this week at the Republican Party of Texas Convention, because, I mean, look, there's 7,000 delegates. Sometimes there's been close to 10. I think that's the population or the turnout's a little bit different because we're in the middle of runoff elections. And a lot of people are at home working the polls and so on in some of those districts. But still, this is what many people consider and is stated at times not only the largest event of its type in the state, in the country, but possibly the largest political event in the world that happens every 2 years. And so a lot of chance to interact with people and get a feel for that culture. A lot of times I bring my kids here too to sort of experience what it's like, see the different groups, the different booths, the way to interact with people and how that takes place. And, you know, look, I say this a lot of time, government belongs to those who show up. Right. You look at the turnouts of elections, a lot of times it's a smaller percentage of people that get things done, but a lot of that is getting to know people in person. I've met people here that I've never met before or seen you and I, right? They see us in at an event or a video, but they've not seen us and met us in person. Great opportunity to do that. You're going to be speaking at our event, September 13th and 14th. We're excited about that, the Faith, Family, and Freedom Policy Forum. I've gotten to speak at the Youth Summit several times. A lot of the folks at your event, not all of them, but some of them have a connection to President Trump. You've got a strong relationship with that family. Tell us what that's meant for you and why you continue to build on that.
Well, President Trump is all about loyalty, and I knew that even when things were uncertain who would be the nominee, I knew that I had to stick with President Trump. And my relationship with Donald Trump Jr. has meant so much to me, and he's just an amazing guy. His family, when I think about Eric and all of his entire family, all of his kids, you can see that President Trump is a blessed man. And you can tell that he's a very good man by the kids that he's raised. You can judge a tree by its fruit, and he's borne really good fruit.
Yeah.
And so
successful.
And I think President Trump has been the greatest president of my lifetime. Yeah. And I say this all the time before I introduce Don, but what I say is that his greatest accomplishment is actually his family. And that's why, if I can say something about Texas values, what you're doing is so important, because family, that is the bedrock of our society. It's the most important thing, and that's under attack. That's what this gender dysphoria is all about. That's what the sanctity of life is all about, protecting life. They're attacking the family. They're attacking dads, and they're attacking biblical masculinity. And they're asking a question now. The Supreme Court justice has been asked the question, "What is a woman?" and she couldn't even define it.
Unbelievable.
So that's why the great work that you're doing at Texas Values is so important. And I went back to Texas Values, but President Trump, he loves his family. And so getting to be around their orbit, and when I go to certain events, I'm going to Bedminster later in June to support those that have been wrongfully attacked. There's a lot of people that were wrongfully attacked, did nothing wrong on January 6th, and I'm going to get to be there to support them. And President Trump will be there to support those families.
Yeah, and look, that issue's been going on for a while. And, some people have already served time. Some people are still in the balance on this issue, and a lot of people still have concerns. I know there's a booth across from us that's tackling that issue as well. But you talk about the issue of family, and just, a side note for those of y'all that may not see me here as much. I'm here probably more than most people at this week. But if you don't see me here as often, and particularly on Saturdays, because I got some family commitments. My oldest son's graduated from high school. I've been back and forth between Austin and San Antonio this week, as there's been some things to kind of loose ends to tie up before that, a big weekend. And it's not like college or law school graduation, but for kids, that's one of their major milestones, right? This is my oldest son, and so I've been balancing that. We've got Father's Days coming up in a couple of weeks, and so and I've worked on that over time. How do you balance fighting for the family, but also making sure you take care of your family? You look at Trump's family, not everybody follows in daddy's footsteps, right? You see a lot of families, kids decide to do their own thing, and not to say that that's their fault or whatever, but I know how important it is in those formative years to stay close to them and to be a part of that. And some of the members of our team have had their family there. I see one right here. I won't shout him out so we don't, since we haven't have his permission yet, but I know he's proud of a member of our team, the work that she's doing. But let's talk about the faith side. I know that's a big part of what you focus on with the Youth Summit and your work. You've got a breakfast and a lunch that you have at time to time that's focused on having Christians involved in our work and pastors being involved. Why do you continue to do that? And, what's some of the fruit that you've seen from that?
Well, my dad was a pastor growing up, still is, and he's actually here with me this weekend in San Antonio. Getting to be around my father, I really enjoyed my dad so much, and getting to be with Rafael Cruz, traveling the country when I worked for Senator Ted Cruz. And Rafael is my closest mentor, and outside of my dad, he's influenced my life so much. I've spent hundreds of hours with that man, and we went to churches across the country. And so I continue to feel a special calling to be around pastors and to wake up the church. I think it's so important that they do their civic duty. George Barna did a study years ago, and he recognized that only a quarter of the church is actually voting. Only half are registered, but only a quarter are actually voting. If the church were to wake up, that'd be the sleeping giant that would turn our country around. And so they need to vote, but moreover, they need to be involved in the culture war. And the reality is, these aren't political issues when we're talking about, what is a man, who is a man supposed to be, what does masculinity look like, and what is a woman supposed to be, what does femininity look like. These are important questions. If we get this wrong, there aren't multiple genders. Yeah. There are two sexes, male and female. That's it. Biology proves that. And so that's why it's so important that we recognize how the church needs to be speaking to the culture. In Dallas, I visited a church called Mercy Culture. They're doing that really well. They're cutting edge and multi-generational, multicultural, vibrant church. They dress really cool, but they're talking about, they talked about, we got 14 of the last 15 conservatives elected, and everybody in that room, it was a multicultural room that, young people, they were cheering, and I love to see that. But of course, Robert Morris's church, Steve Riggle's church, you're great friends with Steve Riggle. There's a lot of churches that are doing their civic duty to be involved, and we need to get more of those churches involved. And so when I do these prayer breakfasts, every pastor's at a different place, and they're coming from a different place. There's so many different types of evangelicals. And Catholics aren't even always on the same page, as you know. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we're sensitive to that, and not everybody's prepared to go full blast into politics. But we need to warm them up and help them realize that as Esther stood before the king, we need to recognize that we were put in this position for such a time as this. We need to wake up as the church. We need to be involved in the civic society. We need to fight for our country. And America's important. A pastor can say, well, my kingdom, Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. Well, America is what Ronald Reagan referred to as that shining city on a hill to the glory of God. 70% of the missions work across the world is funded by benevolent people in the United States of America. America was blessed to be a blessing because to whom much is given, much is required. America has not only been used to spread freedom and democracy, it's been blessed to be a blessing and to spread the gospel to the ends of the world. And so America is important.
There's no doubt about that. And we think about the numbers that concern us about how we see, the media and statistics and polling showing that a lot of people that consider themselves Christians or religion being a part of their life continues to look like it goes down every year. But that doesn't mean we should give up. That we should work harder, get more engaged, and I've seen you do that as well. We're talking with Christian Collins. He leads the Texas Youth Summit as an event, but it's something that goes on, throughout the year, different involvement. He's been involved in politics. He's been involved in faith outreach, a lot of great work in getting people involved in the issues we care about, primarily in Texas. We're in the middle of early voting for a runoff election. I know you've dipped your toe, if that's even right, probably stepped in many ways to probably the biggest race that's getting a lot of attention. David Covey versus Dade Phelan, our current Speaker of the House. Why'd you decide to get involved in that race?
Well, he's got an awesome brother with Texas values, so Jonathan Covey.
You like Jonathan Covey.
But David I've known for many years, actually, before I knew Jonathan. And David has always been a humble, kind person, but also very conservative. And he's deserved this opportunity. People are rallying behind him. He's got money pouring in from all across the country, not as much as Dade Phelan, and all the money he's getting, but people are rallying behind David because he's a great guy. He's very conservative. President Trump and Ken Paxton and Lieutenant Governor Patrick and Texas Values Action have all gotten behind him, and of course I support him because he's going to do the right thing when he gets to Austin. He's going to stand up for the right values, the people in his district, and he won't let people down. So I'm happy to support him.
And we're going to see what happens by the end of the day on May 28th. That is the main election day for the runoff elections. Early voting continues through today. It ends at 7 p.m. today, Friday. Then the main election day is Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Tuesday, May 28th, here in Texas. And look, Tom Oliverson's already announced to run as a Speaker of the House. So regardless of how that race turns out, we know that issue is still going to be up. And now if David Covey wins, he doesn't become Speaker. Just make sure everybody knows that. He just takes over that House seat, and then there'll be a separate election in January at the state capitol when the legislature begins for the Speaker of the House. But as a matter of fact, real quick, I just want to mention this. I tried to, or at least I looked at the resume and reached out to Christian Collins to try to get him to work for us many years ago when you were first starting and you were ending your time with the Senator Cruz campaign. You can see why. So, Christian, I appreciate you being a guest, being with us, and all the great work you do. So, God bless you.
It's an honor to get to be a part of the Texas Values family. And even if I'm not officially working for you, I feel like I really am, because whatever I can do to support Texas Values, I will. And it's an honor to be your friend, Jonathan. And can I make one plug?
Sure.
Well, we have we have Texas Youth Summit September 20th and 21st. It's at the Woodlands Marriott, which is in the Woodlands, Texas, and it's free to youth. Ages 12 to 26 can be there free. An adult 27 plus can buy a ticket, so anyone can be a part. We're going to have the biggest speakers in the movement, and we're going to roll out our lineup really quickly, but it's going to be an awesome event, the best we've ever had, the production, the speakers, and you won't want to miss it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, great. I appreciate that. And that wraps up this special segment of the Texas Values Report right here in the exhibit hall. Good to see you. I saw you, Matt Schaefer, at the exhibit hall at the Republican Party of Texas State Convention. So check back on our social media for more updates here in San Antonio.